Welcome back to Unchained Crochet. We are on tutorial number 5, Changing Tide. We're going to start this other edge. We just got done with the neck edge, and now we're on the arm side of the piece. You'll want to start this, it's easiest to start it with the pockets facing you. That way you can just take the pocket flap. Keep finding these little stitch marker strings I put in there. Then you just fold that pocket down out of your way and jump over it, just as we did on the other side with the ribbing. So what we're going to do now is it's really a rather simple modified shell stitch. It's kind of a cross between a V-stitch and a shell stitch. So start with your slip stitch. And you're going to find your corner stitch there. Pull my tail a little tighter. And we're going to go into that corner stitch. We're going to do another standing double crochet. Basically, this first row, you're going to repeat what you did to the other side where we did the ribbing. The first row is just double crochet, the same as before, so you're going to go into the sides of each half double crochet of this bottom of the pocket, the trim that we added. And then you're going to do, just to refresh your memory here, when you get into the lemon peel stitch, you're going to do one stitch into the single crochets and one stitch into the double around the double crochet post. Okay, so now I'm at the bottom of the pocket. That's the last half double. It's the first row of the bottom edging when we started it. So now we're going to jump over the pocket part right there into that first stitch after it, so there's not much of a gap there. Take your double crochet into every stitch. Be careful that you don't do an extra one between. Like, here's a single crochet. This is the top of the double crochet, and I just went around that double crochet. You're going into the single crochet right there. So keep your tension a little tight between the stitches. It's just going to get too flared on you if you accidentally go into that extra little hole at the top of the double crochet. You want to hit the double crochets and your single crochets. So here's a single crochet I went around. There's a double crochet I went around. Now I'm looking for my single crochet. It's right here. Now the double. Now the single. Now the double. This part is just a refresher, so I'm not really going to go all the way up the lemon peel side. I'm going to pull this loop up. Get me some more yarn out. And we're just going to do a refresher on how to evenly place your double crochets. So just pretend that we have made it all the way up the lemon peel stitch edge. And now we've come to the first row of our Clusters of Hope section. The second clue. So right here is the first cluster row. We're looking for the first single crochet row. It's right there, so you're going to go ahead and place a stitch there. And now we're going to alternate and do 2 and 2 around that double crochet, and then 1 into the next single crochet. Now the next double, we're going to do 1 double crochet. So then into the next single crochet, and now we're going to do 2 double crochets around this double crochet. Go into your single crochet and do 1 around the next double crochet. Again, this part is just a refresher because it's the same as the first row of the ribbing section we just did in the last clue. Now I'm going into the single crochet, and now I'm ready for 2 double around this double crochet. So keep going across, do the same thing when you get to the join of the 2 pieces up at the neck, and go down your other side in the same fashion. So they're evenly spaced. As this is worn, you're not going to notice any small differences, but you can see it looks good. All right, so once you get to your other corner, you're going to chain 2 and turn. That chain 2 is going to count as your first double crochet. So I'm going to pretend that I have, let me take a few more stitches. In a minute, I'm going to pretend that I have made it to the other corner, the other bottom of the pocket. This is an abbreviated version. You don't want to sit here and watch me stitch across 80 inches. So I'm going to pretend that we've made it across there. We're not concerned so much with the number of stitches. We just want them evenly spaced. If you end up with an extra stitch or 2, just eat it up in pattern. And it may happen here that's what I got. So if that's the case, I'm going to show you how to do that, how to get rid of the extra stitches. So I'm at the other end of the other pocket. Tongue-tied today. Chain 2, and you're going to skip that first stitch. You're going to skip the next stitch, so you're skipping 2. You're going into the 3rd stitch. 1, 2, 3. We're going to double crochet 2 times in that same stitch, chain 1, and put 2 more double crochet in the same stitch. So you've got a cross between a V-stitch and a shell stitch. As a shell, it just has that chain 1 space in it. So now we need our next one. We're going to skip 1, 2, 3 stitches this time. And we're going to do another shell. 2 double. Chain 1. 2 more double in the same stitch. Skip 3 stitches, go into the 4th one, place another shell, 2 double, chain 1, 2 double, skip 3 stitches, do another shell in the next stitch. Skip 3 stitches, go into the 4th, place another shell. Okay, now before we had skipped on the corner, we had skipped 2 stitches. Looks like I am 1 or 2 short. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip 2 stitches, and I'm going to place a shell. Or we can go back. You can go back one or 2 shells and only skip a couple stitches. So let's do that. It's really not going to be noticeable. I would rather do this than to count on a bunch of stitches and try to get it figured out exactly how many you need for the repeat, you know, blah, blah, blah. So now we could skip 2 stitches again and place another shell. And then we're going to skip 2 and we're going to double crochet in that last stitch. So that's what it looks like. Can you tell that I skipped a couple stitches? Not really. But do what you need to do to make it fit. This is kind of improvisational part of doing this, just because it's so much easier than counting out a bunch of stitches and doing a bunch of math. So chain 2 and turn, and every row is the same. So you're going to shell into your chain 1 spaces. Now we don't have to count any stitches over before we do another shell. We're just going to keep going into the chain 1 spaces. After that first shell row, as long as it's laying straight, you're good. You don't want it ruffled and you don't want it too tight. No more counting. You can visualize this. Although if you're like me, you have a habit. Sorry if I'm getting too close to the camera. I have a habit of counting. So I may say 1, 2 in my head. Chain 1, 2. This stitch I don't usually do that so much with. A regular shell I'll count to 5 over and over and over again in my head. And it drives me crazy. I want to stop counting because I don't need to count when I do them. But you still do it. You still do it. I think my test piece, I did 4 rows of the shells. So you got your foundation row, and when you get to the last stitch, you're going to double crochet. We just come straight from doing a shell. We're not going to do any chain there. We're going to double crochet into the top turning chain. Chain 2 and turn and repeat again. Rinse and repeat. So you can see how that's going to look. Just keep adding your shell rows until you're happy with the width of your project. Like I said, I did 4 shell rows on my other one. And when you're done with this clue, you don't have to do anything else but whip stitch these pockets down if that's what you want to do. I'm going to have that in my next video. We'll be whip stitching these pockets down. And then I'm also going to have a tassel tutorial. I have a pretty quick way of doing my tassels where I make the tassel and stitch it on without having any tails to bury. Okay, so you want to stay tuned for that if you want tassels on yours. I do 4 tassels, so each corner gets a tassel. And let's see if I can, bear with me for a minute. I'm going to pause this. Okay, earlier I had paused the video and I was meaning to show you what it looks like with all of these clues together. But when I paused the video, I forgot to hit record again, so I was showing no one. In the middle here, I've just used a stitch marker to pin my tails to the pocket. Now the way I'm going to use these to whip stitch up the sides of the pockets. And this here where it draws in, that stretches to fit nicely, and it keeps the pocket top from sagging. So here she is in all her glory. I just love it. I think even a little rose stitched and put up here would be really cute. But I'm doing tassels, I think. because that's what I've already talked about doing on the videos. If you have little areas like this that bother you, you can hit that with your steam iron real quick. Or it may just come out in the wash and dry if you're using acrylics. So this is the clue we just finished. I just went ahead and finished up the whole end of that. And I'll give you a little panoramic view here. And a close-up. I just love this yarn. And if you're just first seeing this and you've jumped ahead, this yarn is Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn. And they're gradient in the rainbow colorway. It's a very soft rainbow, muted colors. So I love it. It's like wearing a bouquet of roses, of all different color roses. It's just beautiful. I am definitely going to wear this on our vacation in October. I can't wait. I think I like this one better than my test piece that I did with the single ply red heart roll with it in the peacock colors. It was called Catwalk. So I love them both, but this one, I don't know, it just speaks to my heart, just like the movie it's named after. So that is her, and tune in for the next clue. We're going to whip stitch this side up here, and we're going to make tassels. I'm going to show you how to make one tassel and put it on without having any ends to weave in. Bye for now.